This is the Inspection Pros Podcast, where we break down everything you need to know to grow a successful home inspection company. Join host Jake as we get insider knowledge from the industry's best on how to take your business to the next level.
Welcome back to the Inspection Pros Podcast, your favorite business building podcast for the home inspection community. Today, back by popular demand, is Shawn once again to continue his education series. Today, we're going to educate our audience on exit strategy. Shawn, thank you so much for joining us again today to talk about exit strategy and how to build a business with exit strategies in mind. And we're going to learn all about that today. So thank you for joining us.
Oh, well, I am glad to be here. The cool thing is all this stuff that I'm about to share, I've learned over the last 12 months. So this, some of this stuff was new to me even. One of our things when we got into the business is we looked at home inspection as an awesome business to be in, like just a great opportunity, but we never really figured we were going to sell it. Mm-hmm. I mean, that in mind, it's always an opportunity, until the conversation comes into play, and then, your emotional attachments are like, well, that's not going to happen. So I'll give you some really cool information, even why we chose to go that point. And we're still majority shareholders in the business, but we're not completely exited, which was one of our strategies too. So basically, up until now in home inspection, your exit strategy is to die. I mean, that's my plan. I am not leaving here until I'm dead, and it'll pass on to the next person, or a life insurance check will pass to my spouse, whatever it is. But I'm gonna sit here. I'm gonna die here. And honestly, there wasn't a lot of other options. So hopefully you make this work, because it's either die or go bankrupt and do something else. Go back to whatever previous life we had, what other job, and who wants to do that? This was always fun. I always had fun with home inspections. It was a fun business to be in. Yeah, there's always something to complain about. But the truth is, it was a great business. It was super fun. I loved what I did. I loved being in front of people, helping other people around me, and just what it meant to service the customer and let them know what's going on with their house, their property. And it was cool. We inspected everything from, I inspected a house that was maybe 100 square feet to mega mansions that I'm just I can't even figure out what to do with all this space. And I'm pretty creative. I'll try again next time I see one of those. But it was always a really fun experience to see different lifestyles, different areas of the country, different people, and see people just smile and be excited that you were there most of the time. Some people were not excited, like the renters and the new people who are getting new landlords. Yeah, so some people that had to stick up their butt. But honestly, the worst case, in 2 hours, you never see these people again. So it's very easy to be like, yeah, whatever, that guy's gone. Yeah. So really, this was all about creating life-changing opportunities rather than just dying. So we had a couple things that we really wanted to do with our business. And one of the things about building a business is that as you grow, you employ, you do more, it becomes a lot more overhead. Suddenly you need a bigger building, you need more tools, and then tracking all that stuff, somebody to track all that stuff, and the overhead keeps growing. It always grows. And it was getting to the point where hey, there's a lot going on, and if you have a bad day, you could really throw off the rest of your month, especially when you're operating on huge numbers. And it's, where do I put this money? Do I put it back into growth, or do I put it into my pocket? Do I put it in the rainy day account? Where does it go? And as you know, we were very aggressively growing. So our business started in 2016. We did $293,000. The following year, we did $1 million, then $2 million, 3.4, 5.1, and then $9 million in 2021 of gross revenue. So, that has a cost. Even though we were between 20 and 30% profitability all year long, the cost to achieve that growth was extremely high. I mean, 30, 40, 50, 60% of our budget was marketing. And I mean, those are insane. So our profit would dwindle when we would dump that much money in marketing. So then we would have to scale back to make some profit once in a while. But that was okay. We planned that. 2020 comes along, 21 comes along, 22 comes along. Everything kind of starts changing really rapidly. And, it's 1 month you're like, this is the best month ever. You're rolling around in the Scrooge McDuck money pit there. And then next month it's it's an empty vault, and you spent all your money, making sure that everyone's payroll was met and that your marketing budgets were met. And I mean, the growth into what we did in Texas, that was $1 million expense, $1 million that we didn't get to put in our pocket. So we loved it. We loved every second of it. But it's kind of like those hard decisions. And coupling along this line, our business partner was definitely looking for new opportunities in his life. He's older. He's going to be 70 soon. I think he's like 68 right now. I feel bad for not knowing on a live call here. But he wants to slow down, and slow down's a stretch. He wants to basically not be as responsible, for things going on around, because there's a lot of work going on when you have 150 employees in multiple states and, aggressive plans. Well, that requires a lot of attention, a lot of work, a lot of focus. Mm-hmm. So, he wanted to change his life. And, Sylvie and I, we were just like, we're going to die here. That was our strategy. We better build something good so we can die here pretty well.
So we saved well over $250K.
Just this quarter, we have saved about $30,000 in credit card fees.
Probably over $1,000 a month, at least.
Over $150,000 this year alone.
$180,000 the first year we worked with them, and it's growing every single year.
Thank you, Pair Payments.
Thank you, Pair.
I would recommend them to anyone.
Yeah, just wish I would have done it sooner.
I'm sure a lot of people have no exit strategy in mind when they start a company. So does
of
everyone
course not.
You default to that, right?
I mean, if you've gone through a business sale, now that I've gone through it, you kind of start thinking about that early. I'm like, what does it look like when I leave this? But I'm involved in a couple other businesses, and I'm just like, I'm not thinking about that yet. I just want to do my best in the business. And there's some things now that I know in advance that we can kind of lean towards, but my goal is I have to enjoy what I do. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter if I'm making money or not. I have to enjoy what I do, or I won't do it. Like, I won't show up to work. But if I enjoy what I do, like, we're on vacation. Like, let me make some phone calls. Let me do some stuff. All right. It's distracting and unfair sometimes, but I love helping people and doing what I do. And I'll get on the call with, any inspector, no matter what I'm doing, as long as, it's safe for me to do that. And, here's how I can help you. So anyways, we scaled this business ridiculously fast, put a ton of our profit into it, but we always had the goal in mind that we were going to get to a certain level where we could kind of pull out of the business, collect money every month, and like be on vacation, spend time with the family, and do whatever. Like, that was kind of our goal. So we were approaching that over the last couple of years, and now we're getting to the point where over the last year we're like, hey, I really don't have to work that much, and yeah, I get a phone call once in a while. Let me forward it to somebody that can help you. So already planning what it looks like for you to step out of your business. That's a big takeaway. Like, what does it look like if you don't show up to work for a week? If your business goes under, you have a job, you don't have a business. Mm-hmm. So last year when it was the first vacation my wife and I took together, where the rule was phones are off. We are doing zero business. Like, don't go on Facebook. Don't find out the world burned down. It does not matter. The fire will have knocked everything out. People will probably want to figure it out while we're gone. Otherwise, we'll deal with it next week. We got back. I'm like, everything was okay. Like, oh, that was really nice. People figured stuff out without us. Cool. This can be done. So then we started stepping up more and more. We put somebody in our business who we kind of promoted from within, who had the opportunity to become our COO. Basically, the do all the things that need to get done role.
Oh, yeah.
His name was Scott. Is Scott. His name is Scott. He did awesome as a COO. I mean, we're like, here's like 12 things I've always wanted to do, make it happen. Next thing you know, not only were those 12 done, 10 other things were done that we didn't even look at yet because he was on top of it.
Oh, wow.
Since then, he's become our CEO, and he's been really on top of making things happen. That was the best thing. When we moved out of us being in charge of everything and let him be in charge, I was really happy to make that happen because he was unofficial CEO for a while, and then it was like, good, here's all my stuff, you run it. He knew what to do. We kind of trained him and groomed him for it. And my job now is just to, what do you need from me? You need advice. You need ideas. I love coming up with ridiculous ideas. So that's what I do. Mm-hmm. So we hit this really fast growth goals, and we kind of knew that we wanted to do that. But that's what we knew. We're like, just keep getting bigger. Then we started thinking, what does it look like to go from, looking at a customer in our lane to a little bit bigger? So instead of just, servicing our customer in the exact pinhole that is home inspections, just that, we're like, what does it look like to create a lifelong relationship with a customer? Like, that's kind of where our mission changed. Mm-hmm. Then we started planning on, what is our personal purpose, which is like, hey, I want to work less, have more fun, and kind of have more time freedom.
That sounds great.
It's a good goal for everything, right? Like that should always be your goal. So then it's like, what does our life transition look like? Well, in order to do that, we need to not be as responsible for a lot of the day-to-day things that we got going on here. Hey, princess. Here's my little helper. All right. Bye-bye. Can you lock the door on the way out? Oh, yes, I love you too. My daughter is 19 months and she came to visit me. So anyways, we look, the life transition involves taking the stuff off our plate, because honestly, you get a lot of stuff on your plate. I still have a couple things left over from the business transition that just haven't been off my plate yet. Like, there's been no one to do it. I'm like, hey, here's our plan. Here's what we can do. Some of it just takes time, and it's funny. It's just the IT portion of the business. That's still something that's been, we sold the business. I'm still doing that because it's important, and like, we haven't transitioned it off of me yet, and it's no problem. I just want to make sure that whoever gets it does it right, has the skill set, is going to be reliable. So even though I sold, like, it's still important. I want to make sure it's done right. So think about those things that you need to transition. What does it look like over time? And, be flexible with what that looks like. So, the big opportunity here was new opportunities. If somebody comes in with a boatload of cash to help you, you put some cash in your pocket, you put cash in the business, you put new opportunities you couldn't have gone after. So that's what we're able to do now. Money in your pocket now is a really good reason to do it. And it makes sense, but you go, my business was named after my firstborn child. Mm-hmm. So there's an emotional connection there that's, the mascot of the business. When we do presentations, the second slide on the PowerPoint is, let's meet the CEO. And it's a picture of my kid when he was like 4, like 3 and a half. So it's like, there's a lot going on here. If you go through my Facebook, you'll see 98% of the pictures are my wife and I working events and meeting people and shaking hands and like going to the meetings and training our team. So it's like, this is our life. We sold our life. There's a lot of emotional attachment there. And the truth is, when the conversation started, my response was like many expletive words. There's no effing way I'm doing that. And like, how dare you think of that? Why would we sell this? And that's how emotionally attached I was to this. And the truth is, like, once in a while I'm like, man, I really just, like, I love the company and the people and the mission. And like, so I'm still very much attached to this business. So, I mean, we're still shareholders, but it's definitely different now. The company that came in, they're not operators. They are like partners. And they're like, what do you do if you have money? Like, well, I could tell you what I do. This is how we grow the business. They're like, great. And I was like, well, what are you doing? They're like, well, we're just giving you the money. We expect it to grow to what you're saying it is so that we can get a return on it, because that's what our investment is. Mm-hmm. It's an investment. I was like, oh, okay, so we can make it a win-win for everybody. There's a lot of upside, a lot of rollover equity, a lot of potential growth. And private equity is a really interesting game. It's not just another business like yours buying this. It's private equity, which means the growth opportunity is that they grow it for a segment. So I learned some cool words like EBITDA. Which basically is profit. It's, what is it? Earnings before interest, taxes, and stuff. Stuff is the technical word, right?
Yeah.
So, just that means that every couple of years they're going to resell it to the next private equity investment, or also known as recapitalize. So every time that happens, you get a boatload of money based on the growth of the equity, based on the shares that you hold, and your team does too. We made sure that our team would be well compensated. So our team, actually, everyone that's involved in this, all the employees, the inspectors, the team that makes Max work, especially as we grow and buy the business and incorporate them, everybody has a piece of the action. Everybody becomes a partner. Something that I couldn't have done by myself. I'm like, I invested everything into this. How could I share that with them? But as private equity comes in, it allows you to have opportunities you couldn't have done otherwise, because they're dumping a ton of money into the business. Well, now the money's there to share with everybody. Instead of just a salary, it's a salary plus those equity options. So when they recapitalize every couple of years, that employee will get a payout. Hopefully they can see how amazing it is and want to keep around and do the next thing. But it keeps everyone on the same page, and let's all row the boat together, which is something I always talk about. Faster growth and less risk. Having somebody else's money come into your business means that you can grow and hit the achievements you want, but you don't have to worry about those bad days. Like, that's their money. Do your best, because obviously it's worth more, but that risk is removed. It elevated us above the day-to-day. I don't have to get those phone calls. This guy didn't show up to work, and why is this guy late? And I don't know. Like, I'm not there. Call him. And I can really focus on the vision of the business, what I want it to look like over time, and bring in people around me and that talent. So those were the reasons why we got into even considering this. And I looked through close to 60 private equity companies. And, we got rid of them really quick. Some of them just wanted to come in and be like, we're the operators, you're gone, and we're going to do this, and we know how to run a business better than you. And I'm like, well, I don't doubt you know how to run a business better than me. You do not know how to run a home inspection business better than me. Or better than Sylvia, better than the team, better than our leadership team. Like, these people have been doing this. Some of these people that have been here since we worked at my mom's house out of the room I grew up in, and it was 2 desks and 1 phone. Like, you're not outpacing these people. They know the business. They know every detail. They know. And in our business, it's not a coffee shop where you show up and get coffee. It's a pure relationship. Like, I have relationships with people in the market, and if I'm gone, what are you going to do with them? How are they going to respond to you? How are you? 'Cause some of these people you need to hold their hand. And if you're not willing to do that anymore, then are you willing to lose those customers? So there's all that. The one that we chose to work with, they've had a lot of business synergies for home services. They have a lot of history. They've been doing these kind of equity roll-ups for about 40 years. They didn't want to take over the business. They wanted to be partners and enhance what we're already doing. They ran on a system called EOS, which we run on, which made managing the business super easy. So that conversation was very easy going between them. Like, hey, here's what we're doing. And, oh, you're using EOS. And what are your rocks? And how are you doing this? And tell me about your L10 meetings. So it was a very awesome meeting and collection of, we are already working on the same pace anyways. Like, it's a good fit. They came in with employee stock plans that we wish we could have done. And they had that resources, the money. They have people. So when we start getting to the level of like a $10 million business, you start needing things that we couldn't afford. You need like C-suite level people. You need, a real HR system. You need like a CIT, which is a job I've been doing. You need a COO, a CEO. You're putting $1 million of overhead onto a business. Well, if you do that, you just killed off your marketing budget and profit, times 2. So now you're either not marketing or you're not putting profit in your pocket. Well, both of those suck. So by them coming in and doing that, we were able to really elevate above everything else that we did. And, and then we just kind of worked through the process, which took a couple months. And, they go in a lot of details. And it's really funny because, I can come in here and talk about the vision, talk about what we're doing, talk about big picture. And they're like, all right, well, let's go over the numbers. And I'm like, well, I don't know anything about numbers. You got to talk to Sylvia about that. She knows every detail, every number, every little thing that goes on. I'm the marketing guy, right? I'm the guy who gets up there and puts on a smile and, gets people excited and motivates people. That's like all I can do. Anything beyond that is not a role that I'm great at.
Well, I got a question for you there because I love something you brought up. So the ease of this transition due to EOS, I think, highlights the importance of having a solid operating system in your business from the beginning. Not only does it help you grow your business and probably grow at a faster rate, but also when it comes to that point where you need to start thinking about exit strategy, did you find that using an operating system like EOS not only gave you a seamless transition, but did it make it easier to formulate the exit strategy plan to think of, hey, we could do this, we can do that, because we have the business is something that's ready to sell, ready to transition with other partners?
I mean, what it did was it just allowed us to have a leadership team that was intelligent, that was quick on their feet, that kind of knew what was going on in the business. So when we started stepping away, they were honestly already running the business. Like, we would come in here and go, all right, we should do that, we should do this, we should do this. But part of it is identify, discuss, and solve. That's a major part of the L10 meetings for EOS. So go identify problems in your departments and other departments. All right, let's discuss it as a team and let's solve this issue so that it's done. So, I mean, like, well, if you have 4 to 8 people doing that in your business, it's not just you anymore. Yeah, you're going to find stuff too that they're not going to see because you can see at a different level and maybe things that you're used to. But the truth is, like, they did an awesome job. And it would be interesting because it happened a couple times where somebody would have an idea and I'd be like, there is no way we're doing that. That is an awful idea. And then, there'd be one or two people that would fight me on this, which honestly, I like when people will give their feedback. And I'm a strong personality and, running the business, and they were working for me, standing up to me and saying, no, like that's a challenge for a lot of people. So they'd be like, Shawn, you're wrong. We should do this. And I go, fine, do it. You own it. And you know what? It turned out pretty well. And I was like, hey, awesome. I could not be more proud. Just letting people have that reign to make those decisions is really cool to see what they come back with.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, if anything, it seems like having the EOS system and executing on it not only allows you to grow faster, but it gives you the ability to have a company that's a machine that you can take yourself out of. And now it's running as a well-oiled machine. Yeah,
and I think Wally said it the other day on a call, and it was basically, your business is worth what you do not have to do. I'll find the quote, but he's a smart guy. And
he is.
If you're not responsible for it and the business can operate it without you, you have a business. If the business fails because you took a vacation, you have a job. And a really crappy job.
It makes sense, and I've heard that before. So thank you for bringing that up. We are going to take a quick moment to hear a word from our sponsor, Pair Payments, and we'll be right back.
The home inspection industry is highly competitive, and you need an edge to stay on top. You certainly can't afford to give profit away for no reason. But what if I told you credit card processors may be overcharging you and robbing you of profits you've worked hard to earn? It's time to put an end to being overcharged for payment processing. It's time to take back your profits. That's why we put together a free report, How to Avoid Being Overcharged by Your Payment Processor. Head over to takebackyourprofits.com, download the report, and put an end to being overcharged for credit card processing. You've worked hard for your sales, and you deserve to keep it. What are you waiting for? Go to takebackyourprofits.com and download your report today.
All right, and we are back with Mr. Awesome himself, Shawn Rossbach, here to talk about exit strategies. So far, we've had a great discussion, but Shawn, we want to know, what are the questions you should be asking yourself, even if you're not ready to sell? What are the questions you should be asking yourself regarding how do I get my business ready for that exit strategy, even if it's 20 years out?
I'm going to start with a very funny one. You really have to ask yourself, what do I do if I sold my business? And I know it's ridiculous, but if you can't answer that simple question, then the idea of selling your business doesn't make sense either. I asked a couple people, like, hey, if we make an offer on your business and you do something else with your life, what is it? And the answer is, I have no idea. And that's a really bad sign. To me, I have 3,000 ideas and I don't know which one I should do. Should I spend less time doing work or should I spend more time doing work? Should I do this business or should I, take a job that pays really well with great benefits? And a job that I would take would be a couple of days a week, flexible hours, something that would fit me, and they know, like, I don't need the job. I'm here enjoying what I do. Or is it I want to go fishing every day? I don't want to go fishing every day. I'd find something else to do. But that was an example. So ask yourself, what is it that I would like to do as business, as another opportunity in retirement, passive investing, buying real estate, getting a real estate license, whatever it is. What do I do next? Always think about what you would do next, because otherwise, and the opportunity comes, you go, why would I want to do that? And then you're going to miss out on an opportunity. Once you can answer that, you can start building other things that lead you to that possible success. The next question is, you really got to think, what do I need to do in my business in order to take vacations? Now, vacations specifically means you need to turn your phone and email off and not respond to the business for a couple of days. By the way, start with one day. Take a trip to the beach and keep your phone off and go back. So if anything happens, you can resolve it. Learn from that. Try that a couple times. The next time, do like 2 or 3 days. Then work up to 4 or 5 days. Once you can break a week, what's the difference between a week and 2 weeks? What's the difference between 2 weeks and a month? What's the difference between not showing up again? Because at that point, you've built systems in place to handle problems that come up every day. Between 1 to 5 days, a lot can happen. So that's why you start with 1 day a couple times. Once a month, take 1 day 100% off. And then when you see the problems that come in, and they're going to come in, and they are going to come in, it's going to be a lot of work, that's okay. go, what do I need to have in place in order for this to be handled? Usually it's a person. Next, one of the first people you should end up hiring once, even if you can't afford it, it's one of the better hires you can do, is a personal assistant. This is a person that, executive assistant. So we've had a personal assistant multiple times. This person has done everything from schedule things in my personal life that need to get, do I work on the thing that needs to get done in the business or on the thing that I have to do for my personal life? Well, they're both important in my life, so they have to get done. And I'm going to have to do the personal one and take away from the business one, but no one else can do the business one. So if I go do the business one and I have somebody that gets paid, $50,000 a year, they can do all of those personal things, even though I'm making $50,000 a year less. There'll be a point in your life that's a lot, but you can make more money doing the other stuff. They can go make sure that's done. And they've done everything from making sure my doctor's appointment was scheduled, my car was, on the schedule. They've taken my car in for service. They've gotten gas. They've made sure the person was showing up to my house to paint the walls and, whatever's going on in your personal life. The dry cleaning was done because you have to do that. And if you're doing that, you can't do the other important stuff in your business. Then you train them on some stuff in business. Hey, can you make a follow-up phone call? Here's the script. If they do a bad job, they do a bad job. But you got to get the right person. But the personal executive assistant, they can fill in those gaps. Hey, I have a special project. It involves staying on the phone for 8 hours with the state to make sure this goes through. That's not a terribly difficult or challenge, but if I sit on that phone for 8 hours, what else am I missing? So you give them some stuff like that, and you'll know the right person that you interview. Maybe you go through them. I got really lucky with my personal assistant and my executive assistant. But anyone who wants to run a big company, who wants to get time freedom, if you don't have that person, your chances of getting it are diminished. And this person can handle stuff when you're gone for those 1 day to 5 days to a month. They can do everything from sort your emails, which I don't have them do, but they booked me flights. Hey, I need a flight from here to here. Here's my traveler number. Here's the information. I need to be here at this time, there at that time. Set me up for business class, set me up for third class, set me up for way in the back, put me in first class, whatever it is. If you can't find it, I'm here's my budget, see what we can do. I really need to leave out of that airport. I need to be at this time. Perfect. Or I'll check quick. I want that flight and this one, just put it on there and I'll send a screenshot. So booking that flight only takes another 20 minutes. But
what's the opportunity cost?
That's opportunity cost. Yeah. As soon as you learn what opportunity cost is and can leverage that, your life changes. And by the way, there's plenty of things where I go, I am not going to do anything, including no work, and I'm just going to watch TV or play on the computer or play with my kid, because that's worth more to me than doing whatever else needs to get done. Somebody else can be paid any amount, and it's done. Learning the difference between $10 an hour work and $100 an hour work. Again, people now get paid 20, 25, 40 still. But think of low-value production and high-value production. A phone call and a business meeting with a top-end developer, top-end producer, somebody that can generate thousands of dollars a year in business, that's a $100 an hour function. Replying to 3 emails about, whatever, I don't need to do that. Handling a customer complaint, honestly, I'm terrible at those. But it's still I can do better work, and I can do things that I'm better and focused at and enjoy more. I enjoy making a sale more than a customer complaint. So handling a customer complaint for me is going to stress me out, make me produce worse quality work on everything else I do, make me complain to my wife at the end of the day about this terrible call I was at. I'm going to perform poorly for that customer anyways. I should never do that. And I'm going to be emotionally attached to the decision. Give them $3 refund. It's so stupid. Just refund the whole thing. Make them happy. But I'm not good at that. Somebody else is good at that. I'm look, you can do whatever. I don't want to hear the reason. I don't want to know the reason. That comes up in IDS. And the rest of the team can solve that. Yeah. Running on EOS was a huge deal to making our company successful. My wife and I, when we built this company, we were at each other's throats plenty of times. Welcome to being married and running a business. So, the day doesn't end, and it'll be 1:00 in the morning, and instead of watching TV, you're arguing over how to handle the next complaint that comes in or where to budget the money, and So one of the cool things about EOS is it really lets you establish who wears what hat. And as much as I would try to wear the same hat as somebody else, I cannot fit into the hat that you're wearing on your head when it's on your head, right? I can't get in that hat with you that you got right there that says pair payments. It only fits on one person's head. So when you try to wear the hat and share it with somebody, it's not going to work. And you end up fighting over something like somebody's in charge of it. Somebody's going to own the consequence. Somebody needs to go make that decision. Maybe it's the wrong decision, but that's their decision to make. And if it's their choice, and if they go, I'm not going to listen to what you have to say, that's their choice, their consequence. They have to own that problem. To me, I'm like, what is your feedback? I want to know everything here. I'm still going to make my choice. I might even have a choice pre-made, but I want to know what's going on so I can judge it. You know, sometimes there's no great choices. Sometimes they're all great choices. But we used to share that, like, oh, I want to do that with your department, and I want to do that with your department, and I want to do this. And it was like, well, you know, who's making that final call? We're changing things on everybody all the time. So that really allows, it's a big help there. And then you can start training and pulling people towards leadership, like just allowing people to make those decisions. We tell people, if you use our core values, our keys to success here, when you make a decision, that decision is not wrong. If you told me the reason you did this is because our core value says that, and you followed through with it, and it legitimately is there, even if the decision, you're like, yeah, it's not how, it would never work. You're not wrong. You're never in trouble. One of the things we do is leadership. If you make a decision and you own that decision, you're not wrong. Like, hey, you know what? You gave a full refund. I would have given them nothing, but you're not wrong. Next time, why don't we try handling it like this? Cool. You know, if it's clearly incompetence, that's one thing. But if you're making a decision, hey, look, customer obsession is one of our values. Hey, my customer obsession meant that I did this. I'm like, man, we did a lot of extra stuff for that person. But you know what? Our value is customer obsession. That's not a wrong decision. You know, I would have handled things differently, but that's not wrong. Great job. So we're able to empower our team with our core values and let them know, look, make decisions, even if they're possibly wrong. The worst thing you could ever do is have 150 people in your company that all work for you that cannot make a decision. Like that was one of we actually found that out early on. I'm a strong personality. I'm like, this is all the things we're going to do. I direct the whole world all at once. But we ended up with a bunch of people that would do things. But a second I'm, busy, nothing would get done. So we really want to empower our team. Empower your team to make decisions. You know what? Some decisions, you're like, we've had decisions that we've lost 10, 20, 30 grand on. I'm like, you did what? I guess we're out 30 grand for that choice. Let's not do that again. But I can't be mad at them. Like they followed the process all the way through. You know, it's what am I supposed to do at that point? Yeah, that's what I want. By the way, almost all the time it works out great. You know, once in a while you're like, that sucks. But tell me you can make 100% perfect decisions that always work out well yourself. Like it doesn't happen. But you're going to keep doing it. Those are some of the biggest ones. Have some rainy day fund. Put 10% in an account as a backup. You know, you should have 1 to 3 months worth of free cash sitting somewhere in an account that you can pull from in an emergency. We learned that for the COVID crisis. Be ready to right size your company when needed. You know, hey, you know what? Sometimes you got to change what's going on. Evaluate all departments. Whenever you can. And what else is really good to help your business sell? Once you start empowering your team and can take vacations, like that's what matters. Then the person just comes in and goes, cool, what's the EBITDA? All right, we're going to give you X times EBITDA. Awesome. I mean, that's how, if you don't have a job anymore, the business is an annuity they're buying technically.
I love that concept because in everything you're saying, it just goes to show how you can set up a business as a job and then trying to grow it slowly, or you could set it up with that foundation of how do I have this be a business that's growing holistically, not just in income and revenue, but how do I grow it so that I'm building a team, I'm building out processes, I'm building out the system so that it's a machine, you're thinking holistically, it's not just, how do we get more revenue in and how do we grow with just me, all that stuff. So thank you for talking about that. Some fantastic information. And I just want to apologize to anyone who doesn't know what EOS is. Go look that up. That should be your first step if you want to really grow your business with a strong foundation and you're forward thinking about exit strategy even 20, 30 years down the line. Check out EOS by Gino Wickman. There's a whole book series, Traction. I think the best book to start out with is What the Heck is EOS? Then move to Traction. So just check out all that stuff. There's even videos online for EOS. But
I have a lot of tools to evaluate your business too. If you go to like tractiontools.com, I think. I mean, we used to go on there all the time. It was rate your business. Do you have the right person in the right seat? What's your company health look like in terms of the organizational structure? And it was really fun because I'd be like, vision is clearly a 10 because, that's what I spout out of my mouth 24/7. Yeah. And then, we sent that around and our vision was like a 2 out of 10. And I'm like, well, I'm doing an awful job here because it's not just about saying what the future looks like. It's how you empower your team to get there.
Mm-hmm. What I love about models like this too is that you don't have to take everything. You can read through it and take what works for you or what you think is best. Even if you read through this and you're like, oh, you know what? From What the Heck is EOS, I'm going to take level 10 meetings.
Right.
And you start doing that. Even like anything that can improve a little aspect of your business, make your meetings more efficient, effective, more robust. So why not? Why not take whatever you can? So while we're on the subject of these resources, are there any other books or podcasts, videos, any resources that you'd recommend for someone who's focusing on either their exit strategy now or building a company to be prepared for that down the line?
I mean, the resources I had was the people around me, and that was a big deal because we had a lot of people around that kind of knew what was going on, and finding people that are your peers that have potentially been in this scenario before is good to learn from. Find the key players like that have gone through this and make friends with them. I'm always willing to share our experience, what we can do. Barring the NDA and what I'm not allowed to talk about. But, when it comes down to it, the experience was really good. And there was, again, I said no 59 times. I was like, well, it can't be this person. And then one of them, I was like, there was a couple that stood out as good. And one of them was like, that's the clear person I want to be partnered with.
You knew it when you saw it?
Right. I mean, it took a couple conversations, but the truth is like every conversation went very well. It was very easy. And even to this day, like when I have a conversation to have with them, like it's a very great conversation. Hey, what do you think about this? What are we doing here? How does that work? What do you want to do with this? It's just the conversations are very easy because everyone's on the same team. We're rowing the boat in the same direction. We all have the same mission. Grow this. And how do we get there?
Yeah, that's awesome. So thank you, Shawn. Is there anything you want to leave our audience with today before we call it a show?
No, I don't have anything else to talk about today. If you have any questions, reach out. I know a couple people have reached out to me with questions over time. Shawn at maxhomeinspections.com is the best way to reach me. Throw me an email, shawn at maxhomeinspections.com. And I will, set up a call with you or whatever I can do to help you. And I'm always looking forward to, helping people as much as I possibly can.
Well, thank you, because that was my next question is how does everyone get in touch with you? To ask all these questions I'm sure they have now after this episode. Thank you once again, Shawn. It was a great episode, great information. Can't wait to do the next one. And if anyone likes what Shawn has to say, has enjoyed this episode, go back and check out some of the other episodes we've done with Shawn. It's always a good time. It's always some great information. So thank you very much for joining us again today, Shawn.
I think this is going to be our shortest episode ever.
I think so.
Unlike our 2-hour one. All right. Well, this was awesome. Thank you so much. And you have an amazing day. Bye, everybody.
Yep. Thank you to our audience as well. Do me a favor. Keep engaging. DM us on Instagram at the Inspection Pros. It's Inspection Pro Podcast. We're everywhere. DM us. Reach out. Let us know who you want to hear, what you want to hear, and we'll get them on the show. We'll have the topics discussed. So thank you very much for tuning in, and we will see you next week.
Thanks for listening to the Inspection Pros Podcast. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and smash that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the bell so you won't miss our next episode. This episode was produced by Jake Aronson. This has been a Pair Payments production.